Welcome to episode 3 of the Back in My Day podcast. This week's guest is Carl. Carl is just a lovely guy with some great stories. We talked about his beloved wife, Susie, that he met at the age of 15, and also the challenges he faced when she unfortunately passed away, but also some stories about the travel that he did, the success he had in his career, and also a really heartwarming story about how he was looked after by the aged care staff in his current facility and how they made him feel so much more better and comfortable. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please do follow, like and share, and if you would like to see some more information about the podcast, please visit us at backinmyday.com.au to view our websites. We hope you enjoy the episode. How did you meet your partner?
I met her at a youth club. Right. Youth clubs were popular at that time, and I met her at the age of 15. It sounds silly, probably, but we knew very quickly that we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together.
So love at first sight type thing?
Yeah, I think it was.
Thanks, Carl, for coming on our Back in the Day podcast. Really appreciate it. So, yeah, I'm just going to go through some questions.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the place that you grew up in?
I grew up in Leicestershire, at a village in Leicestershire. There's a few shops there, but it was mainly a rural area.
Yeah.
Which was wonderful as a child because free to roam, you know.
Yeah.
We'd go off all day and wouldn't go back at lunchtime if we were enjoying ourselves.
Yeah.
And you'd go home at night and Mum would say, "Oh, you weren't hungry then?" And I said, "No." But as long as we got back before it got dark, she wasn't worried. And we'd be off all day long. Now, I don't think that happens nowadays, does it?
No, not at all. But yeah, that's back in the days when all the kids were happy to roam. And I think my mum used to say back in those days they didn't even lock their front doors. It was so different back then.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So that's where my very early days were. We moved on eventually to a bigger town, which is where I had my early education and that. Yeah.
But what are your fondest memories from your childhood?
The freedom.
Yeah.
As a young child, we had climbed trees and made dens, tunnels underground, and it was all simple stuff.
Yeah.
But we had the freedom. We made box carts. Do you know box carts?
Yeah.
Out of old pram wheels, and we'd race on those. And you had simple games like playing with marbles, and skipping with big ropes. The girls used to always drive that and get a long line and turning this skipping rope. And loads of other children were jumping in the middle of it. So
you weren't sat on YouTube or playing video games?
Then. It didn't exist.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah. I think, but even when I was young, it was come home from school. Mum would just shout, "Make sure you take your school uniform off before you go out," and then I'd be off out on bikes. It was so active. We were just again playing simple games.
That's right.
So, what was your favourite school subject?
Physics. Always was physics. I mean, there's certain aspects of the physics that interested me. I was interested in, space was starting to take off in those days. The early Sputniks of the Russians putting up and the Americans moving in, and that fascinated me. And physics was, part of that process of getting things into space. So,
was the moon landing real or not? Moon landing, was it real? Do you think, was it real or was it made up?
I'm a believer that it happened. Yeah. But the photography of them getting out of the craft onto the moon, you couldn't really see very well at all. It was poor quality. But I'm a believer.
Yeah, no, that's my dad's into a lot of that as well. He likes astronomy and everything like that. So he was big on the space stuff, and he was always in the backyard with a telescope looking up at the stars and doing all that kind of stuff. So All right. What was your first job?
Well, full-time job was for British Telecom.
Right.
I worked in the local area there, doing external planning and that sort of thing, cable networks and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And I worked for them nearly all my life, British Telecom, but
Okay.
I had a few different roles.
Okay.
I won a scholarship to go to university from them, which meant I went to university on full pay,
nice.
which was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
The company offered about 5 scholarships a year, and I won one. So I was a pretty wealthy student compared to other students.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. How did that come about? How did you end up getting the scholarship?
They advertised that, there's this process, they could apply for it. There were several stages of interview. Finally ended up in London being interviewed. And eventually we heard the decision that I got it, which was great.
And you enjoyed it from day one, that job?
Yeah. I mean, after I'd done the scholarship at university, of course I moved job because I didn't want to go back to working in the area.
Right.
I joined the research department, and that's where I went to and spent most of my life there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you stayed with them, you said, pretty much your whole career?
Yeah, I did different jobs. I, progressed within the organisation as time went on, as I got more experience, and that. Eventually, I ended up running a subsidiary of British Telecom, doing research and development mainly for a whole variety of government agencies, police and that sort of thing. And I had 150 people, highly qualified engineers and scientists working for me. I wasn't doing any engineering at that stage, it was all management.
Well, okay. Well, I might have to ask you some tips then, because that's what I'm one of the owners of E4 Recruitment. We've got about 40 people, but sounds like you had a much bigger team, and they say managing people is always the hardest part of management.
Yeah, it was a challenging job because we were in competition with other companies to get this work from the government, and it was pretty competitive. We did both fairly small jobs, 100,000 K, but we also bid for some big contracts, several millions, and it was very competitive, hard work.
In terms of accomplishments during that job, I guess what you're saying, like going up through the ranks and getting to that management level.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Awesome. How did you meet your partner?
I met her at a youth club.
Right.
Youth clubs were popular at that time because there wasn't a lot of activities that people could do. So I went to a local Anglican church at that time, and there was a joint event with other churches. And she came from a Baptist church, and that's when I met her. A mutual friend sort of encouraged us along the way. This in common.
Helped set it up.
And I met her at the age of 15. And it sounds silly, probably, but we knew very quickly that we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together.
So love at first sight type thing?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, well.
We were both very, very comfortable with each other. We didn't want to spend time with others, We were very comfortable ourselves.
And even at 15, you knew that straight away? And
fairly soon after that, I'm not saying that day, but, fairly soon after that, we knew that we were right for each other. And that was fantastic.
So what happened next after meeting? Was it, you were 15, I guess it would have been a while before you got married?
That's right, it was about 5-6 years before we got married, all of our life until she died about 11 years ago of cancer. I still miss her every day.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised if you met at 15 and...
I called her Susie. Her name was Susan, but I called her Susie. I have Susie days now, where for no apparent reason at all, I feel a little bit upset that I'm missing her.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Which after 11 years is quite a long time, And my life has moved on, After she died, I did embark on other social activities and new friendships because I had to, because I was on my own, but things move on. I've got a little story I could tell you about.
I'd love to hear it.
Discovering Australia, which concerns my wife. It was coming up to our silver wedding anniversary. That's 25 years. And we were debating what to do to celebrate it, because it's fair time to be together. But we didn't come to any conclusion. However, unbeknown to me, my wife had come to a conclusion. She planned, arranged and booked a holiday to Australia.
And she did that all by herself?
She booked everything herself. She chose the itineraries where we'd stay at, which was Hong Kong, and then to Queensland, then to Sydney, and then stopped off on Singapore on the way back. She planned all that, picked the hotels, picked the flights, the dates and everything, and didn't tell me.
And didn't tell you?
Didn't tell me at all.
This was just for a holiday, right?
This is for our anniversary holiday, yeah.
Right, okay. Did she always book everything? Was that how she always did things? Would she?
Oh, well, she could do it, yes, but this time she didn't tell me about it. Normally I would have known. But I'm afraid her plans went a little bit not the way she wanted, because she discovered that we actually had to go to the Australian High Commission in London at that time, personally, to get a visa.
Right.
You couldn't do it by postal or remote or online or anything like that. You had to go to the High Commission.
What year was this? Do you not remember what sort of time it was?
This was 96.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so off we went and got the stamp in our visas, in our passports, to come here.
So how was that first trip to Australia?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. We knew at that time that's where we wanted to live.
Right.
But we also knew it was very difficult to get a permanent visa once you're above the age of 40,
Yeah.
It's virtually impossible unless you're good at rowing on a boat,
And you said before your son, when we were speaking before this, you said your son was already here.
We did subsequently several trips to Australia, and we talked to my son about it. Yeah. And one day he says, I'm going to live in Australia, he said. He'd never been here himself, but he decided that he wanted to come and live out here.
What?
A complete life change for him. And so he came out.
Did he have a job to sort of go to or anything like that?
He didn't have one firmly signed up. He was working for a company in the UK, Fujitsu, but they've got a presence out here in Australia. And he got some work with Fujitsu when he first came out here. And
then so you came for that holiday, but then you obviously went back to the UK and then just started planning to come back.
I mean, subsequently we did a lot of home exchanges. I don't know whether you've heard of this, where you swap homes with people for an extended period. Well, we had 6 weeks. We had 5 home exchanges of 6 weeks long, where you just swap homes. You swap cars as well. So it's a very effective way of having a long holiday.
Yeah.
Because all you've got to pay for is your food and that, and you have to do that anyway. So there's no extra cost.
Yeah.
So we had home exchanges to Victoria, to WA, to New South Wales, Queensland. Yeah. Okay. We did all those.
So once you moved over, that was it. You were happy with the decision. There was never any times where you thought, oh, maybe we should go back. You were done once you moved here.
We knew. I mean, from those home exchanges, we knew what it was like to live in Australia.
Yeah.
Both the good bits and the bad bits. You know. But we loved the place and loved the people. I might say, as much as anything else, very welcoming people.
I remember when I first came here, and I'd just be walking down the street, and random people would just say hello to me or shake my hand and stuff. And I wasn't used to that coming from the UK.
That's
and
right.
people just seem much more friendly. So it didn't take me long to realise that I wanted to live in Australia and stay long term.
Yeah.
Are there any memories that stand out as the happiest times in your life? I mean, obviously you've talked about those things there. Is there anything that springs to mind when you think about the happiest times in your life?
My wife and I love travelling.
Yeah.
We did an awful lot of travelling, quite a lot around the world.
Yeah. So you've seen a lot of places.
Yeah. Yeah. I could never get her on a cruise ship, mind you.
I was going to ask, when you said you've done a lot of travelling, I was going to ask that, because I've got an uncle that basically him and his partner lived on a cruise ship, and that's how they saw the world. So I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
But yours are all just flights and going on these.
That's right. Yeah. But after my wife died, I thought, well, I want to carry on travelling. Yeah. But I don't want to travel on my own, just hotel to hotel. I don't want that. So I tried cruising. And I became addicted to it.
Oh, so you did get into the cruising?
Yeah, I did 26 cruises.
Maybe you were on the same cruise as my uncle at some point. Yeah, some people seem to really love cruises, other people just don't understand them. But
that's right. Yeah. I think you've got to be comfortable with socialising.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't really want to go on a cruise and then sit on your own. You need to
get yourself out there,
get to know people. Yeah.
Is that something you've always been good with the social side and getting to know people?
When my wife was alive, we didn't need a lot of social activity, to be honest.
Yeah. We
were comfortable with ourselves.
Yeah.
And that was one of the issues I faced when she died, was that we'd moved out to Australia, and we hadn't been here long, and she was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh,
and in the midst of cancer, we weren't socialising, there was a lot of medical treatments. So after she died, I had no social life. I had to create it.
It must have been tough for all those years of being together and then finding you had to go out by yourself.
Yeah, but I joined a bowling club and I joined another social club as well.
Yeah.
And it's, doing different things. So,
okay. That was going to be my next question. Did you pick up any new hobbies or interests later in life? But I think you've, cruising, bowls.
Yeah. I mean, bowls I always wanted to have a go at in Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously active in the UK, but the weather is not conducive to it, really.
Yeah, not easy in Australia, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas in Australia it was. And I joined local Keima bowling club, and I was made very welcome there. They did call me to start with, oh, it's another bloody pom,
I've had that for my life. Yeah.
But after about 6 months, I was just the pom, they dropped the bloody pom.
Yeah.
But that's how they show their endearment for you.
Oh, I think with Australia and England, it's almost like that sibling type rivalry, isn't it? It's that sort of that. There's that love for each other, but then there's that sort of taking the mickey out of each other.
That's
as well.
Right. Yeah,
which is good because it makes you comfortable.
It does. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. What advice would you give to younger generations based on your life experiences? Any advice you'd give to them?
I mean, I worked hard. I was always ambitious, and I always wanted to improve myself and to get on. I was always looking for responsibility as well.
Yeah,
it sounds a bit pushy, but that's how I am. Yeah,
that's how you get ahead, isn't it? If you're ambitious, you need to be pushy to get up to where you want to get to.
Yeah.
So that would be the advice: just to work hard and apply yourself.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Looking back, are there any different decisions or paths you wish you'd taken at any point in your life?
Oh, I can't think of one at the moment, I must admit. You have to probably edit this bit out.
That's all right. No, I think it's a good sign if there's nothing you look back on and think that you would have done differently or taken a different path. I think that's a good thing. It shows
there are little things that you think about. You say, oh, I didn't handle that situation as well as I could.
Yeah.
And they were business decisions as well as other decisions. But
just those smaller things.
Yeah. Nothing major, I don't think. No. I've had a privileged life, I think.
Yeah, that's great.
I've done lots of things. I've been to lots of places. In my later years, I was doing bucket list items. Do you know what I mean by that?
It was going to be part of my next question.
Yeah, I went to the Falklands.
Right.
Being a POM, the Falklands War was big.
Yes.
It was very big.
It was Argentina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so on a cruise, I did to South America, called in at the Falkland Islands, which was fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
What's it like? I've never been.
Bleak. It is bleak.
Right.
It's a hard life and cold down there.
Yeah.
But the people are wonderful.
Oh.
And they're very proud to be British, as they see themselves.
Yeah.
Very proud. And after the war, they're revitalising the place, which is great to see.
Yeah.
Which is good to see.
How big is it? It's quite small, is it?
Oh yeah, very small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
8,000 miles away from the UK, from which the war was raged, you know.
Yeah. Anything else on the bucket list that you ticked off?
I went to the Northern Cape of Norway, which is the most northerly part of Europe.
Right.
And that was nice up there. Again, it was drinking cold. It was the middle of summer, but you know, when you're in the Arctic Circle, it's pretty cold.
Yeah.
The other thing, I wanted to cruise to Japan, which I did.
Everyone I speak to lately has been to Japan. It's somewhere I really want to go. Did you enjoy that?
Oh, I did. It was fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating. In Japanese, the ship was both, you know, Europeans, shall I say, as well as Japanese on it. And the Japanese had only just discovered going cruising. And so they were walking around in herds of themselves. You know, you didn't get just a Japanese couple walking around. There'd be a group of 20 of them going around the ship. How they dressed up in the evening were absolutely fantastic.
Right.
They're very formal, but top quality stuff.
Yeah.
The outfits that the ladies wear, fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Did they make you feel a bit underdressed then when you got to the dinners?
And the men, you know, they dressed up pretty well.
Yeah.
But the ladies weren't the boss of the relationship, shall I say?
Yeah.
They were very much a man-driven.
Yeah. Different culture.
Yeah. It's their culture.
Yeah. Well, finally, if you could go back to your 16-year-old self and give yourself some advice, what would it be?
My wife and I talked about this. In some ways, you know, we were ready to get married at that age, at 16.
Right.
But it wasn't done in that time of life, you know, in that era.
You were allowed to get married? Were you allowed to get married at 16, I wonder?
I don't know whether you were or not, but, you know, okay, then live together, you know.
Yeah.
But it wasn't done. It wasn't done then. But we went to cut away from parents and have our own life. Yeah.
Is that what it was, to sort of get away from the parent life?
Well, no, it wasn't that we wanted to get away from them.
Yeah.
It's just we wanted to create our own new life.
Yeah. So maybe that'd be the advice: is do it sooner, do it as quick as possible.
Oh yeah. Another little story I can tell you, which you can use if you want.
100%. Love to hear it.
This other little story is about joining Ferndale.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I joined here because of my health issues. I needed some supervision, to be looked after, to have staff around me.
Yeah.
And I moved in there. But I moved from living in a big house in Kiama, overlooking the sea. It was a big house, 5 bedrooms, study, swimming pool, you know, pretty ideal really for a POM.
Close to the blowhole?
You're not far from there, yeah. So I'd been living there and did a lot of walking, you know, exercising. Nothing energetic, but a lot of walking. But anyway, I had this health issue and a very nasty fall. I was in hospital for a while. And I came out and I came here to Ferndale. And I hated it. I felt I'd lost my life. Yeah. I felt that I was in a prison. And I couldn't get out. Because you couldn't, you had to get signed out. And you had to have someone to take you out.
Yeah.
And that was, it overwhelmed me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a happy bunny. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be straightforward because it's a lifestyle change. But something happened which helped. In the dining room one day, I was pretty glum. But one of the caring staff, I think she noticed I was feeling glum. So she came over to me, dragged me to my feet, and we danced around the dining room.
Wow.
And all the other residents were laughing and smiling. well, that's because I can't dance, you know. But I thought, oh, there's something here. There's some lightness, and there's some fun.
Yeah.
And she was the start of breaking me out. And she got a good friend as well, who did the same thing a couple of days later. Dragged me out and danced me around the room.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, I think there's something here which will make me settle. And it will, and it has.
That was the turning point.
That was the turning point.
Wow.
These girls, sounds a bit sexist, I don't mean it that way, but I call them my special girls.
Yeah. Well,
You know, they're 20 to 30 years younger than me, so but they have to be girls.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're special.
Yeah.
They're very professional in the jobs they do to everyone.
Yeah.
But they stepped a little bit further forward and did more for me, and it made a big impact. So I'm a lot more settled here now, and getting involved in things here as well.
Well, it just shows how amazing the carers are then, especially those ones that go above and beyond, and
That's right.
they saw that you were struggling and they wanted to do something about it. And what amazing to think that was your turning point. And
That's right.
And since then it's been better and better. Yeah.
Yeah. But what was also good for me was to see the reaction of the other residents.
Yeah.
That they were smiling as well
Yeah.
at what was going on. And I thought, yeah, we can do things that everyone it brings a smile to everyone's face, not just those who are doing the action. And that was a good lesson, I think.
And now you've got the role where you're very heavily involved with talking to residents and being that point of contact to make changes. And so come a long way from being someone that was a bit glum and to now leading a lot of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. It's been great to chat and I love the story, so I really appreciate it.
Okay.